Hello, my friends. It's time for Thought Shifting Thursdays. I am so excited to talk about this subject today because it might be my favorite subject in the whole world. So, Busting Loose from the Money Game. This book here absolutely changed my life, and as it says in the description or in the description today of the video. Gotta show it in both cameras there. Busting Loose from the Money Game. And the subtitle, which is kind of hard to read there, is Mind-Blowing Strategies for Changing the Rules of a Game You Can't Win. So just to give you a quick summary of how this has affected my life, our life, my wife and I, and then also I'm going to give you a little bit of background of the philosophy of it, and then I share with you the most powerful process from the book, which is called actually The Process. So, I guess it was about 15, 16 years ago that I first read the book. And by the way, I argued through most of it at the first reading pretty adamantly. I might even tell you that story. It takes a long time to tell you the story of how I was a convert to this way of thinking. And not that it's a lot of different than many of philosophies around the law of attraction, but there are some distinctions that makes it quite profound and quite enlightening, I think. So basically, my business was at I left the corporate world around the year 2000, and then started this business of what I do now, life coaching and public speaking, which I'd done even prior to being in the corporate world, but really as a full-time gig. And so about 3 or 4 years into it, it was showing some promise, but the numbers weren't where I wanted to be. The success level wasn't where I wanted to be. And this also affected my health. Again, if I go into the longer story, I'll touch on that more as we get into it a little bit. But basically, reading this book and applying the principles of it, and the principle is simply this. My take on it is living from an inner experience of freedom, joy, love, all spiritual qualities. Once I can do that well, everything else in life comes into alignment. And so our lives were already really good, and they got better and better and better and easier and more abundant. I mean, exponentially more abundant. I mean, my wife and I just can't even believe sometimes how easily and effortlessly abundance comes to us. It's not money, right? Because in the book it's very clear that money is not real. Money, it's an illusion, as is everything on the physical plane. And I have a different take on that word illusion. I don't know if I'll get to that today, to talking about that, because there's so much to talk about on this subject. But abundance in all areas. It's like overflowing. I mean, I'm not sure how much I could really say the cause of my relationship deepening, and we have many practices that lend to that, or continually increase the level of love and connection that we have, Corinne and I. But I know it had a profound effect on that, as well as every aspect of my life. And so I'll touch on the nuances of it that are different than standard law of attraction practice. So in it, Robert Scheinfeld, the author, says, and this is a really profound point, that we're creating our reality not from the consciousness of our personal self. We're creating our reality from the consciousness of our expanded self. Synonymous for me with soul self. I wrote a book called The Magic of the Soul. Believe I'm a little bit of an expert on that. Well, we all are, because we all have souls, right? But having experienced through meditation for the last, 46 years or so, I've had a lot of mystical experiences, a lot of unity consciousness experience as a result of being a long-time meditation practitioner. And so in that, I experience soul consciousness on a regular basis. And so I'll give you some nuances about the philosophy of the book that I think take it even further. And in fact, not saying this to boast, but just really as a result of the amount of conscious practicing that I've put into this philosophy. Robert Scheinfeld, if you're out there, feel free to challenge me on this. I feel that I'm living it at a higher level even than you. So maybe I'll talk more about that today or at a later date as well. So we're creating our reality from the presence of our expanded self. And this is a great connector for the disconnect that we often find in New Thought, in Science of Mind, and self-help literature that, says that, okay, if I'm creating my reality, absolutely, 100%, based on my consciousness, then, what we often will say is, what was the wrong consciousness that created this thing in my life that I don't want, right? Or maybe something happens to you, or for you is more accurate, but it feels like it's to you, like you get a diagnosis of a terminal illness, which I've had and healed from, or you get a huge decline in finances for some reason or another, or you have a long-time relationship that dissolves or breaks up. So somebody might say to you, well, what was the consciousness that drew this experience into your life? And that always feels better, right? You always feel a whole lot better when somebody says that. Of course not. And that's why I think, I'll get to that later. So the connector for that disconnect is because we also hear in New Thought and self-help that everything is for us. Well, if everything is for us, then why would I be creating these obstacles, these challenging, these sometimes what might feel like horrifying experiences? If I'm creating my reality from the presence of my expanded self, it's always for me because my expanded self is creating this because it knows that there's a phenomenal gift that wants to emerge from it. The better question to ask, rather than what was the wrong thinking that created this, or why did I create this, the question why almost always takes us back to what's wrong. Here's a question that moves us forward. What's the greater freedom, joy, love, any spiritual quality that wants to emerge from this situation that has been created by my expanded self, by my soul self? So I'll give you a moment to really reflect on that. What's the most challenging thing in your life right now? And just ask then, what is the greater freedom, joy, love that wants to emerge from it? And by asking this question, and whether you may not even get an answer all the time, but most of the time you probably will, but even if you don't get an answer, you can trust that there is a greater freedom, joy, or love that wants to emerge from this situation. Hi Pamela, hi Karina, hi, there's a whole bunch of people on here. Looks like JB, okay, so thanks for joining us. By asking the question, we are now raising into the level, at least some level of soul consciousness, because our soul, which is our infinite, timeless self, always sees the larger picture. So it knows that what's going to come from this is going to serve us, and most likely serve others through us as a result of embracing it. It's really interesting in coaching, in training coaches. It's so interesting to see, and this is true in my own life, how the things that we've gone through in our life then become, then emerges from that wisdom that we can share with other people, right? And so I've gone through a lot of, what people might say challenging situations, or even, shit shows in my life. And I'm thankful for them all, because every single one of them is something that at one point or another I'm going to share with a client. And the thing that I often say in training coaches is, your experience is your number one most important tool, coaching tool to offer to other people, to share. That's what I do a lot in coaching. I mean, in coaching we ask questions to help clients come up with their own answers, but then sharing stories from my own life can really inspire people to help them to come up with their own solutions, right? So, what else do I want to say about that? Oh yes, I promised that I would share an even, I think, more enlightened or next progression of this philosophy. And I don't know that Robert Scheinfeld would agree with this, but to me it's the most obvious next step in understanding, is that if I'm creating my experience, my reality, from the level or presence of my expanded self, my soul self, then what I know and experience about the soul self is that it's not individualized, right? I mean, maybe to a degree it is. My soul is responsible for my experience, right, and for my growth. But even more poignantly, my soul is connected with all other souls. And so it's more accurate, as I say in my book, The Magic of the Soul, it's more accurate to say, rather than, I have a soul, I am a soul. I am one soul that's expressing through many, many different experiences and personalities in this world. So what that means then, if that's true, and I believe it is, and I have a feeling that most of you watching this video will feel that as well, that then really it's more accurate to say, rather than I'm creating my reality, is we are creating this reality. So I'm not creating this video today. We're not creating this experience together only. All consciousness everywhere is creating the experience that we're having right now, with me sharing these words, with you hearing them, watching the video, and so on. And in fact, my consciousness, your consciousness, our soul consciousness are participating in creating everything that's happening everywhere. Robert Scheinfeld says in the book, and this is one of the challenges that I argued against when in the first reading, is that this is the level of absolutism, I like to call it, that, next week I'm going to share the story of my conversion from a relativist to an absolutist. I'll talk more about that next week. But he says that you have written the script of your life, and you've had every person a copy of the script. And so everyone you meet, every situation you're involved with, in the script, you've given them a role and told them exactly what to do and what to say and how to behave. So that's interesting, isn't it? Because how could you be angry at anyone if you believe that were to be true, right? But I like to expand that into this larger concept of the I, the universal I. So we're all co-writing the script. So everyone I meet and interact with, then we have agreed on this particular scene, right? And what to say and do. And of course, because nothing's written in stone, we're constantly rewriting in each and every moment. Okay? So the beauty of this is, about writing the script, is that we have complete control over everything. And the more soul conscious we are, the more we are consciously writing the script rather than doing it at an unconscious level, if that makes sense. So the other, the quote in the book I like to share that really gives the clearest, the clearest understanding of what it's about is this. When you reach the place in consciousness where you realize it's no better to have $1 million than it is to owe $1 million, then you'll have the consciousness that will allow you to create whatever you want with a snap of your fingers. So when I talk about that in lectures and workshops or even just one-on-one with people, there's always an agreement. I could be speaking to 300 people and I'll see heads nodding in the audience, right? Even though that's really practically unsound, isn't it, right? That we could create anything we want with a snap of our fingers. And yet when people hear it, they agree because it is truth, right? When you hear the truth, if you're at all conscious, then it resonates with you. And yeah, I agree with that. Now, how do I apply that in life? Well, that's through practice, right? And wherever we are on the journey, that's an ideal, right? Being able to manifest whatever we want with a snap of the fingers. Wherever we are on the journey to recognizing, realizing, integrating, embodying that consciousness, that reality, that experience, is the perfect place to be. And it's always about the journey, not about the end destination. So we push the envelope about how much we believe is possible. So I can snap my fingers and say $1 million right here and right now. And I look down on my floor and I don't see it there, but it doesn't mean it's not part of my experience, right? We have manifested over $1 million, as part of our assets, right? And most of it since applying the messages in this book. But it applies to everything, not just finance, right? It's no better to meet my soulmate than it is to be single in this moment, if that was my experience. It's no better to have an absolutely perfectly healthy body than to be experiencing some illness or injury right now. And so, that again is an ideal. And it challenges us, right? The closer we move to that consciousness, though, the easier life gets. And by the way, it's simply non-attachment to results in the world of form, right? It's Buddhism expressed in very modern-day terms. The way that Scheinfeld explains this is this, and I think it's a very profound phrasing, is that if I'm saying that one situation really get this, if you're watching this video and multitasking, take a moment to pay attention to this part of it because it's super important. If I'm saying that one thing in the world of form is better than another thing in the world of form, what I'm saying is that the world of form, the outer appearance, has power over my inner experience. The world of form has power over my inner experience. Which means, quite subtly, that I'm powerless over the world of form, doesn't it? But if I recognize the only thing that's important is how I feel inside. Can I feel abundant right now? Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. or keep them open and I'm looking out my window and you see the abundance of nature. Can I feel abundant in this moment? Then guess what? You're abundant. The outside world will take care of itself. It's always an inside-out game. Can I feel ecstatic love in my heart right now? Then the abundance of loving relationships has to come into my life. If I'm waiting for that soulmate to show up and then I'll feel love, then it just doesn't work that way, right? It's always an inside-out game. Can you close your eyes, take a deep breath, just feel perfect health right now. That's what affirmative prayer is about, is to get to that feeling inside. Then the outer world, as long as I'm waiting for my body to feel good, to be joyful, to feel healthy, then I'm putting it off. I'm putting it into the future, and the future doesn't even exist. There's only a succession of ever-present nows. If I can feel healthy right now, then health is bound to find me, right? The world of form is so seductive, even for practitioners of mental sciences, of positive thinking, of law of attraction, right? Because even though I may understand that, I may still just default back to, I'm going to be happy when this happens in the world of form. That's my encouragement to you, is to give up that line of thinking completely, or at least to practice giving it up on a regular basis. The better you get at this, the more abundance, the more health, the more freedom, the more joy, the more loving relationships you're going to experience. Myself, my wife, my clients that I coach in moving into this practice, moving from phase 1 of the human game to phase 2 of the human game, which is the terminology that the author uses, are living proof of this practice. And it really is that simple. It may be challenging in the beginning to give up, to stop giving our power away to what's happening in the world of appearance and recognize it's all about the inner experience. But it gets easier and easier and easier, and the practices in the book are what help us to get there. So we're starting a class on Sunday, 8-week class. I've taught this class now probably 10 times, and each time I teach it, by the way, each time I study it with a group or experience it with a group, I integrate at a deeper level. So even if you've read this book before, or even if you've taken the class from me before, do it again. I guarantee it's going to up-level consciousness in an exponential way. So I said we're going to do the process. So let's do it real quick. So the first step in the process is we dive into the discomfort of anything. So discomfort, as Scheinfeld says, simply an opportunity to claim back power. Claiming back power, synonymous with that to me, is stepping into a higher level of a higher expression, higher embodiment of love. So, so close your eyes. Think of the most challenging thing in your life. And just let whatever feelings come up around that, feelings of discomfort, I love this part of the process because it negates the possibility of doing a spiritual bypass. Feel the feelings, feel the discomfort. Dive into the center, to the middle of the discomfort, and then magnify it, whether it be fear, whether it be pain, whether it be anger, and just magnify it as much as you can. And if you need to go slower or faster than I'm guiding it, feel free to go at your own pace. But once it reaches the peak of intensity, give you a moment. Once the discomfort reaches a peak of intensity, tell the truth about it. Reflect on these words. None of this is real in the absolute sense, in the soul consciousness sense. It's all being created by my expanded self, my soul self, for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to claim back power, to step into higher understanding and embodiment and expression of love. So now you're going to say a universal affirmation. The example in the book is, I am the power and presence of God. Whatever I am statement speaks to your highest truth. Say those words out loud. I am the power and presence of God. Take a deep healing breath, fully integrating the energy, the power, the truth in these words. Say it once more, your universal affirmation. I'll say mine. I am the power and presence of God. Take a deep healing breath, integrating this truth at an even deeper level. Say it once more. I am the power, presence of God. Deep healing breath, integrating this truth at an even deeper level, and now from the core of your being, like you truly, truly believe it, say it one more time. I am the power and presence of God. Deep healing breath, fully integrating this truth, the deepest level possible. And now see and feel the power that was seemingly in the discomfort, draining out of it and coming back into your being, filling you up from the bottoms of your feet to the top of your head, overflowing like a golden fountain of light that cascades all around you, down through your energy field, deep into Mother Earth. And then recycles and comes surging back up through the bottoms of your feet, exploding out of the top of your head more vibrantly, more brilliantly than the first time, cascading all around you, down through your energy field, deep into Mother Earth, all the way down into that molten, fiery core, the womb of Mother Earth. That core of Shakti energy that now comes shooting up through Mother Earth, surging up through your being, exploding out of the top of your head even more vibrantly, and once again cascading down through your energy field. And it continues to recycle in this way over and over again, each time becoming more brilliant, more vibrant, more powerful. A clear expression of pure spirit energy, pure light, pure love, pure spiritual power. Doesn't that feel good? Now, say your universal affirmation one final time. I am the power and presence of pure light, pure love, pure power. And feel the energy of these words now surging through every aspect of your being. Your mind is completely and totally saturated in this truth. Your emotional nature is nurtured, is enveloped in this truth. Your energy body, your physical body are vibrating at the frequency of this essential truth of who you are. Take a nice deep breath now. The final step is simply relaxing into gratitude. Gratitude for all the blessings in life. Gratitude for all the challenges in life, recognizing now they're simply opportunities to claim back power. And most importantly, gratitude for recognizing yourself in this moment as the expanded self, the soul self, who has choreographed everything perfectly to arrive at this very moment of truth, this moment of power, this moment of peace, this moment of love. And so it is. That's the process. And by the way, if you like you can always listen to this over and over, but if you like an audio recording of this, just post something, post a comment, and I'll send an audio file to you that you can have on your phone. And what else do I want to say? There's a link in the comments about the class for Sunday, if you'd like to join that. 8 weeks, Sundays, 4 to 6 p.m. I know it's Super Bowl Sunday this Sunday, but it's my only 8-week window, so that's when we're doing it. If you have to watch the Super Bowl, I didn't even think about it. If you have to watch the Super Bowl that day, you can start on week 2. Or record the Super Bowl if that's important to you, and then watch it after the class. That's Pacific time, Pacific Standard Time. And if you got something out of this video, hope you did, then make a comment, give us a like, share it with other people that can benefit from it. And there's the doorbell. Someone's here. So I'm going to sign off for now. So have a great week, and we'll see you next week, my friends.